Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Coffee Review. It is a sort of gloomy here, November 12th, but hey, it's November 12th all the same. Michael and I are here, as always, to talk all things Bluebeam, and today we're going to go a little bit beyond, imagine, depending on how the day goes. But how's it going today, Michael?
It's going good. Excited to talk about standardization for collaboration is what we'll be talking about today, and some of the capabilities that you can go through and standardize from within Revu. I know there's been a lot of questions, but we haven't gotten an update yet from when the tool sets will be assigned to the ID. That'll be like the next innovation moving forward for that capture of standardization of your tool sets. So being able to go through and lock them to the user ID versus something different, which is just sharing them, or I guess by the desktop could have been the other capability. But yeah, excited about that today. What about you, Mr. Early?
I've been it's that time of year where I'm doing more like LinkedIn creeping and trying to get more involved. I think going to AU's got that whole holy crap, I should probably like keep track of what's going on in our industry and I saw something, I think it was yesterday or over the weekend, that sort of stuck with me, is that, and it ties back to AI. I know we were talking about AI a couple weeks ago, but we are in a transformation age. And I started to think about, like, what does that mean, and where we are now and how it compares to other transformation ages that we've had previously, right? So like flip phone to smartphone, that was a transformation age. From manual drafting to CAD, that was a transformation age. AutoCAD to Revit, still one, right? Land development desktop to Civil 3D. Those were all transformation ages within the AEC industry, some of many, right? Now we're in a new one, but I don't think we're as prepared as we need to be. And I think that's where our topic today of standardization is going to come in. Everybody is pushing, and I say everybody as in the software world, the giants of software that run our careers, are pushing to the cloud, which means we're all going to be collaborating in the cloud, which means we should all sort of get on the same page. So our standardization conversation today is not just about us internally trying to work with our office down the street or the next state over. It's more about how are we going to collaborate with firms in 5 years. Is that fair to say? Is this a need, or is this a Jason rant?
I guess the question is the industry. It's not a question, but the industry is changing. Yes, I think what we're doing is we're in an infancy stage, just because a lot of traction from an AI perspective. There's not a lot of developers on the AI end that know our industry. I think what the transformation age is going to be for us is automation to fill the gap of skilled labor.
Yeah, that's certainly a part of it, right? The skilled labor is a tough one, right? Because now I would imagine there's folks that are on a C-suite level, like, well, I'm just going to wait for AI, and maybe I don't need the headcount. Whereas the other people who are the headcount are like, oh crap.
I don't think it's the headcount that's currently here. I think the people, well, it could be if you're not on the end of innovation. Does that make sense? Right? If you are unwilling to innovate, I think you may be left behind in this quick changing era of technology. Yes, I agree with that. Because it's changing so rapidly in comparative to transitioning from like AutoCAD to Revit, which some people haven't even done that yet, right?
Yeah.
This next innovation is going to happen so rapidly and push firms even further into success at a more streamlined pace than what has done before. And people are going to be left behind if they don't decide to move into the technology era that we're going in. I think I told you and Matt about this too, that this AI is the new era, like internet was for some folks, right? That experienced that .com phase, where people were not really understanding where what was going to happen. I mean, you even had that thing where everyone thought the internet was going to shut down in 2000, right? Like, come on. um, I think AI is going to be the innovation that pushes us and propels us into the future. And it's for at least for now, from what I can see, because it is scary, right? In terms of what we all think of the inception of what AI is, that it could ultimately replace us. I don't disagree. But I think the first part of the innovation is automation for tasks, and that will be in a data centric area. Like you were saying earlier, right? There are some key players that need to have learning models gather information, but right now, everyone's data is where?
It's over here, it's over there, it's in a drawer, it's
Yeah.
on a server in an old room. It's not consistent.
Yeah.
And that's where you mentioned the folks that haven't, there's still folks out there who haven't transitioned to Revit from AutoCAD. There's people who are still on old versions of Civil 3D that are missing out on tons of functionality, who are sitting there spinning their wheels and doing old workflows when they can do a new workflow in half the time because they were scared or hesitant or, I've always been doing it this way, it's fine. That's not going to be fine in 2 years, 3 years. So question there from Alex, how far along the technology adoption curve do you think we are in the AEC world with AI? And I'm going to say 2%.
Well, hold on. I'm trying to understand that. What's the question?
How far, so in this world where we are in the AEC, to get to AI, there's going to be an adoption curve, right? How far along that curve are we right now?
Well, I would hope that most people are already utilizing it. It's not built for what we are what we have in the industry, right? There isn't a tool that is AI driven and built for what we're currently doing, correct? Mm-hmm. However, there are AI tools that are being utilized by some firms, which are streamlining processes and giving you more time to spend elsewhere. I think the key thing, and it always comes back to time for me, which is pretty wild, but time in general is where we're losing everything, right? So you need more time back in your day to complete tasks or to do something, go and spend time elsewhere, maybe with family or deliver a project. How can we be more efficient with our time? And if we're not currently using AI solutions, I feel like you're already behind the curve on that. So that's to that statement. If you're not using some of the AI tools that are currently out there, I would agree with you are starting to be behind the curve, because what's going to be starting to come to fruition is the new AI tools that will be built around cloud solutions, meaning workflows that are built into a cloud environment, aka the big cloud environment right now that everyone's going to be looking at, and where the innovation will be headed. Because think about it, innovation from AI costs money to innovate these AI learning models, and the big players out there are probably where you're going to want to go and see what they're going to be doing with those AI models and who has them. So as of right now, right, Autodesk announced at AU that Docs has an AI learning model built into, actually it's 3, into that platform. There is essentially kind of an AI tool built into it now for architects with spec docs. So that's like the first iteration, you would say, that has been released, which is great. That's something that's tangible on the horizon, where you're able to search, and AI is all data input. And data in general is where we're going to be needing to focus as an industry, and how much data and what type of data we're loading into there. We've all had bad practices before. I mean, I've been at fault too when I first started in the industry. But that's the next step of this iteration, is data is going to be there. It's going to be learning off that data. Now, I won't say that everyone's data is great. Some people may have better data than others. So that learning model may get some type of data, but I think everyone needs to be prepared of the type of data they're loading into these platforms.
Right. And that's where we're going to tie back into our subject. When we start loading data, when we start collaborating, this isn't just a junk drawer that we're putting up there. How do we standardize it, and how do we plan for what's ahead? This isn't just about like, well, I like this folder and this color and the old CAD standards of days of yore, but also, you know, how do we be forward thinking right now?
Hmm. I mean, I don't disagree. We're in the infancy stage, Alex, but the difference of infancy stage 10 years ago versus in 2024 is a turnkey. It could be a year, it could be 2 years versus 5, 10 years, right? Um, so for me, and understanding it, right, if we're not using some AI tools now and understanding where AI in general is at and how the AI iteration will come into our industry, I think, some people may be behind the curb in kind of glorified, however you want to say it. I will just, input AI input is going to be where the industry will get to first. So understanding how to input data into an AI, that could be from text input, it could be from your own data that's already existing. I think will be the first iteration for the Autodesk platform. So data in, data out, and how you prepare your data for that. The next, I know from Bluebeam's end, AI, they've already built an AI model for their overlay. It's not AI yet. It is, but it's an essentially a foundation model, I guess you would say, that will allow, and it's only for people that are in the lab. So highly recommend if you want to get ahead of the game for some of these things and know where it's going. Bluebeam Labs is definitely where you want to be. But that basically will overlay different details and different areas on sheets for you. And that's kind of, if you remember when I first saw the overlay, I was like, this is just what it was before, because it's just looking at specific areas of the title block. But where it's going to go will be an AI, which is learning from your data sets, which is PDFs, right? And then overlaying those. Yeah.
And you mentioned Bluebeam Labs and Doug. Yeah. It was exciting when it came out, and then people stopped participating. Same thing with Bluebeam Community. And that's on us. We are the community. We are the lab. If we want change, we got to put the effort in. We can't sit around and wait for other people to do it. So let that be your reminder to find some time today, or at least pull up community.bluebeam.com and hop on there at some point, maybe in your lunch break, or just check in and see what's going on. I think if we get back in those habits, we can help do that. That's what the lab is for, right? We haven't made the time to save us the time. And Doug, that image you put in the chat is wonderful.
I didn't click on it. What does it look like? I was going on
Lego guys.
I was going on a long rant.
But yeah. So we'll get into our topic of, how do we standardize? And I'm glad we had this little conversation before, and I'm sure we've opened up the can of worms already, and we'll keep going today. But, keeping that in mind of being more future thinking and being more, how do we get consistent? It's easy to complain about architects not being consistent, engineers not being consistent, but like, if we want to quote Gandhi, be the change we want to see in the world, how do we do that? And how do we think about that?
I'm one of those people that is overly ready to embrace it. So you can always ask me questions on that. There are some folks that are more resistant on it, and I understand trepidations of being worried about what's going to, like, is it going to replace my job? I think, like, luckily enough for me, I'm ready to embrace it and have been embracing other solutions. Like right now, I just asked someone to the same thing, right? I just asked our topic to chat, right? So I said, standardize in Bluebeam Review. I said, how do you standardize in Bluebeam Review? So instead of spending the time to conceptually think of things to create a curriculum or outline or anything like that, you can easily, again, expedite that process to showing some fruit to this. This first one says create custom tool sets. So let's see if it's right? It says standardizing Bluebeam Review involves creating consistent markup tools, profiles, settings that help maintain uniformity across documents and team projects. Here's a step-by-step guide. Cool, thanks. It probably knows that I do a lot of step-by-step guides, so this is, again,
the data
building
that you
a conversation.
Gave it's your memory bank now.
Yeah, it's because I do a lot of step-by-step guides for aquarium. So like it's literally feeding off of my other past chats. I started a new chat, but it remembers all chats now. Okay. So anyways, moving forward. So tool chests. Create set up custom profiles is the next one. So customize your workspace and save a profile example, architectural review, QA/QC. Next one is standardizing markup properties. Use custom stamps, create and share templates, automate processes with batch tools, save and share calibration settings. But that's saving to the document. So I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you mean save and share? So you want to establish a calibration prior to loading it into sessions because you have to, because you can't establish sessions.
Right.
You can't have a set scale after it's been into a session. Implement document management. So use Bluebeam Studio for collaborative work, ensuring everyone works the latest document. Yeah. So let's start with number one, custom tool sets.
So as you're pulling that up, Michael, Alex asked the question, what AI tools are people seeing in the AEC industry that are worthwhile to check out right now? And honestly, some of the tools are right in front of you that you probably aren't aware that you're using a tool. I've been Googling a lot. I've been doing different search engines trying to plan a trip. And AI is right there at the top, and it's becoming less and less obvious that it's AI. Like, oh, these are the search results I was hoping to get. And sure enough, there's a little logo in the corner saying it's powered by something.
I mean, Google has that now where it analyzes all of the, like, I searched, what was I searching yesterday? Oh, it was so cool because I didn't have to read through everything, right? It literally just brought everything up. Oh, here it is right here. I was like the average dislike ratio on YouTube. And an AI overview, it says YouTube is 90%, meaning that every 9 likes, there's 1 dislike. So like crazy, right? It analyzed everything from a key point and it summarized it for me. That's cool. So instead of having to go and look, click someone's link, understand the data, it interpreted majority of the data for you.
Right. So Alex had a great follow-up question. Is that adopting AI or is that accidental use of AI?
I guess you could scroll past it and not look at it. Right?
Because it seems like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I would scroll past it because I'm like, I don't want to see that. Let me get to my, because I'm used to seeing results in a certain way. My brain was like, no, give me the link and give me the thing. Don't give me the little synopsis at the top. But once I started looking at that synopsis at the top, like, wait a minute, this is telling me all the same things.
I mean, you can turn it off. Privacy settings. Let's see.
Oh yeah, you can totally turn it off.
Yeah, you can turn it off for sure.
Or lean into it. So
I mean, I guess it's not forced. I guess it is at the beginning because it's there, right? You didn't make the choice to enable it, but you made the choice to go to Google. What if you went somewhere else?
Right. You're using Google as a tool. So tying into Rob's comment, for it to be a tool that has functionality, you have to actually use it. It can't be a passive or not deliberately using. So I'm going to Google to get an AI result is an intentional way of picking up the hammer instead of just, I'm going to use Edge or I'm going to use something else. It's a particular tool for a particular job, but you have to use it. But that's another side tangent to go on. Will these be tools that we are consciously using, or are these just going to be is what it is now?
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
I think that comes back down to the same thing. If we compared AutoCAD to Revit, the tools available.
Yeah.
I think because that's always been the big one for me. Like, why are we still using I will say the main source of that answer to that question, why are we still using AutoCAD, is because it still works for me.
Yeah.
So I think there'll be the same comments of AI. Well, we've always done it this way. It works for me. The doors are still open. I think may span closer, especially with the cost of software where it is today. right? If you own a business, the software cost for an employee has gone up significantly, right?
Mm-hmm.
That being said, is there a way to make that more efficient process so that you're more billable? Like, do you have to save money somewhere? Where is that money going to be coming from? If you're spending X amount now on this, can I save money by being more efficient and getting more jobs out the door? And then there also comes down to, like, just in general, quality of life time. If I get projects done, deadlines completed quicker, more efficiently using tools like we're talking about, I get to leave on time, or I don't have to work over the weekend, or I don't have to be called at 6 p.m. Right. So these types of things. I'm just, in terms of like thinking of, I could be more efficient by using some of these tools.
No, but you threw out a term there that makes perfect sense that we're not talking enough about, right? Because these tools are going to make me more efficient. These tools are going to save me time. These tools are going to save me money. We never consider the quality of life component to that.
Yeah.
Man, if I'm not missing my kids' play after school, or if I can have my weekends back to finish that project in the garage, or if I can be home and make dinner for my family, like those are all quality of life things that I don't think we talk about enough about, and how important that is for the quality of life.
I mean, it's a big proponent, right? The ability to get your work done more effectively and more efficiently can ultimately, you would hope, depending on where you work, it may be like, go to this next project, accentuates into your quality of life, right? You would hope.
You would hope.
Yeah. Okay, so Toolsets was the first one. So the ability to customize Toolsets is, there's two things to this. And by the way, if you all remember, I had talked about last week creating custom tool sets for accounts, and you can easily do that quickly. I just did snapshots for this and then like recolorize them. The only downside to accounts, I would say, is that you can't rotate them. So like, it bugged me because the chairs weren't in the right rotation when I was going through and placing them. But anyways, you can customize your tool sets, and we'll redo this for standardization, just because I know here in the future, this tool, these tool sets will be tied to the Bluebeam ID, which will be great as well. I'm sure you're keeping up, as now I'm not multitasking with the chat. So let me know what we need to go through and look at. So customizing your tool sets can be done in two ways. You can create them where they're pinging from your actual desktop, right, or a server location. So that's not an import. So if you go to Manage Tools, it's not the import, because the import's caching it local to that specific user. It is the add button in existing path. I will say I've looked at the profiles. Profile doesn't follow this way. And my assumption, more of just like a backend thing, and I would love to get like development confirmation of this, is probably because it's a UI interface change. So I don't know, because that would be better to have a profile too. Like, just give me all of the options. But right now you can link to your tool sets via a path, which would be on a local network, so you can standardize a tool set that everyone has access to, right? And you can publish, I believe, yes, you can path these through your deployments. So from an IT end, in the future, it'll be better because it'll just be pushing to people's profiles. I mean, people's Bluebeam IDs, sorry. Because right now, from a profile perspective, I go to profiles here, manage profiles, right? If I add one, you're just adding a name. From that, you can import it, right? I guess the other one would probably be like a select a folder that you have. I don't think it gives you the option of like the instance, but this is where all of these live, is on this location. But you can import, you can't add to a location, which would be great, because then someone could essentially standardize this, right? Across the board. Now, again, I think it comes down to like everything that's involved in a profile. So tool sets, and then you can export your own. So if you took the time to create this and you're new and watching MCR and haven't really dived into Bluebeam, you can actually export one-offs. So if you select this, you could do it from the same spot here too, but you can go to export, and there's the BTX file here, and you can go through and export that as well.
So you mentioned profiles, and there was a question, will profile be tied to Bluebeam ID as well, or just the tool sets?
I hope. Right now it's the tool sets. That's what they talked about at the Bluebeam Live event. Sorry, my heater's on. I got to turn the heater off because it's hot. Hopefully in the future will be. So we'll see.
So you think Bluebeam's working on that currently, or is this Michael wishful thinking?
That's Michael wishful thinking. Yeah.
Okay.
I know the tool sets are for sure. That's going to be tied to Bluebeam ID. I don't know what. I mean, this is the same wishful thinking of why can't we export statuses? Like, I guess the profile would be the next best thing. But I think there needs to be a better and more effective way for moving things to the cloud, to transmit instead of deploy. Like the base software should be there. Everything is there. That's deployed. And everything should be tied via a cloud managed user ID where you can push profiles and tool sets out if they're already going that way with tool sets. How much easier would it be to be like, Jason just started. I installed Bluebeam on his desktop. I didn't have to reach out to IT to make sure there was a specific deployment package. I just double clicked installed, and then I shared the company profiles with it, and it worked on that computer.
That would be the goal. You'd almost manage that in the admin portal of like, hey, this user gets this license and this profile.
Yep. And the same thing with like Revit. You can see Revit add-ins and stuff like that. Why can't I see what profiles that individual user has as an admin?
Oh yeah, and statuses.
Yep.
Okay, Bluebeam Labs and community. Let's get after it and get in there and make those suggestions. And it doesn't seem like it would be that difficult. Like when you look at all the mechanics that go into the deployment and all those little bits and pieces that you're configuring to push out manually. I mean, it's tied somewhere. That data seems accessible.
Yeah. The main thing is that you can, the issue is that this isn't linked somewhere. I think would be another game changer. Like if this was pushed to somewhere or from somewhere on a desktop location, I guess how do you make that as a desktop location? I don't know. But yeah. There's tool sets, you can do it all day.
With AutoCAD and Civil 3D, they can run off profiles that are tied to the desktop icon. By creating that switch, I can choose if I'm having it load, my Civil 3D workspace or my Map 3D workspace or my company CUI just by changing that desktop icon. If Bluebeam were able to be configured where, hey, this is instead of changing profiles manually, this is my default one for working with this firm, and this is my one that's working internal.
Yep.
Seems a little bit extreme for Revu, but still something that could potentially be deployed that way.
I mean, it's a predominant solution for what we do in the industry, and that's one of the key parts of our workflows. That hasn't changed. It's changed from written markups to digital markups, but I meant in terms of markup is still the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or what we would consider red lines, communication, still a thing. Like that hasn't gone away.
Maybe that's where AI is going to come in and do our markups for us.
Well, that comes back to like if we're moving to the ACC platform as a cloud storage, which you can reduce on-prem. I'm not going to get too much in the weeds because there's a lot of things you could do. But if that's the case, right, there's other things built into there. And I would agree. We talked to somebody, Matt and I did, AU 2023, where they were some university folks from, and I met university folks because I don't want to say the word kids, but they were people attending the university. They were younger than I was. And they developed a solution to help professors redline data sets or submitted work.
Interesting.
That was already happening, meaning it would look at like the instructors. You'd have to have a standardization, and then it would go through, and as the students submitted their work, it would redline it and send it back to them.
That's crazy.
How cool is that?
There was talk of a way to automate that, going back to the AEC side. Every county, city, state, whatever, they have a particular way that they want things submitted. Must be 36 by 24, this font, these heights. These are all pieces of data that could be, looked at against, and the submittal tool will say, nope, sorry, that's the wrong paper size, and kick it back out, or give you some of those basic comments that seem to appear on everything.
Well, I think that comes back to data. Data is the king, right? So how you're putting data in for standardization is going to be hyper important. I think, well, data just in general is important. If you look at it, a lot of the big companies out there, and I'm talking outside of the design industry, data is worth a lot, right? So the quality of our data is going to be big. I mean, it comes down to the same thing of the quality of, like, I know, for instance, Doug, when Doug receives PDFs and those types of things, like that data sometimes isn't the best in terms of export. I think there's going to be a big data shift for leading companies. Are they ahead in the way they're standardizing their information? Yeah.
Crazy.
Coming back full circle, standardizing information, standardizing the markups, right? That data and what information lives on these markups is also hyper important, right? So you have subject matter, you have labels that you can go through, and I've done this customized. So I try to create. I was talking with a client that had an issue with standardizing markups, but having a label on the markup so that it was uniquely identified on the PDF. Shaking your head. So that can be seen, because you know how you have your unique markup, like ID when you export it out. You don't have that on the PDF itself. But anyways, I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds of the issue. You can right-click and, well, not right-click, but select before you place any of your tool sets, standardizing, customizing these. You do have the ability to add additional information. If there were any custom columns, you would see them here as well that you can assign and standardize this data. So again, being aware of standardizing your markups. I think another one that's definitely underutilized, and probably not by a lot of folks that are attending this, but maybe you watching on YouTube, is layers. Definitely having layers, standardizing in your tool sets. So standardizing your data, so across the board, there's not information that is lost, right, or incorrectly input. So that standardization still follows through. I mean, I remember having a specific standardization of labeling and saving your files, right? I mean, come on. Okay. What's the next one? Let's see.
Going back to AI to see what's the next recommendation, huh?
Well, we started with AI, so I feel like why not embrace it through this conversation?
We're using the tool. We're not being passive to it, right?
Yep. And I'm using the tool on my phone. Set up custom profiles would be next. So the next iteration is customizing your profiles. So how do we go through and customize our profiles? Okay. So, review profiles. Now, you can share these always. And that was the issue of, like, what if I have 100 people and I want to publish them out? You can deploy them out, or you can share them. That's the only unfortunate part. Like, and if there is an update, yeah, that's an issue, right? But anyways, profiles, you go to manage profiles, and you can create a custom profile. So in order to create one here, you just hit add. It's going to start off of whatever active profile you're in. So perfect profile. I don't know how I got that one in here. I wonder if I named that one. I probably did. But yeah, you have that ability to start off on a specific profile. And from that profile, when you hit add, it's going to copy that existing active profile. And then you can start making changes. And then you can always export dependencies or non-dependencies. It's up to you. Dependencies include pretty much everything. So that's like your statuses, your line styles, your hatch patterns. I don't think it includes your preferences is the one thing.
Correct.
Someone correct
I think
me
we
if
tested
I'm
that
wrong.
before, or it had some but not all.
Yeah. So preferences are separate export. But anyways, that's how you can go through and export. Yeah. So wish it did. Cool. Isaac can confirm as well. So that is the ability to go through and create custom profiles. But you could have done your tool sets prior, exported that out for uniform standardization. If you want to continuously update your tool sets, though, and you have a network location, I would recommend tying to that. So versus it being an import of the profile, you link to the file location for tool sets if you want to always update them. And have the end users easily update those as well. Now, if you don't, and you're just going to have it completed, then send it on out as is. Or create a deployment package if you have a well thought out IT department that can go through and create deployment packages. Cool. Next one. Is there something in the chat? We good?
Yep. me and Doug and David are talking about stamped documents and layered PDFs. So a little side tangent. Maybe we'll discuss this a little bit more, but we'll keep on topic.
Standardize markup properties. So color, opacity, line thickness. I guess we could go through and do that. Right-click a markup tool in the tool chest. Select set as default while this says the set as default, and all future markups will use its properties. Don't do that, because you should have a markup that has a predetermined. So always verify when you're using AI, right? And that's where I think it becomes an input. Someone has to be an input and verify. As of right now, even where the other chat input is, right? Like you have to input, but verify. Mm-hmm. And I think we may always be there. I don't know. So for those people fearful of replacement of job, you're always going to be inputting, and someone's always going to be verifying at the moment. Okay.
So we're back to the trust but verify stage.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So basically what it's saying is customize your markups. You should, and you can create whatever type of line style for customizing these and standardizing them and then labeling them whatever they need to be. Its comment was to set as default. That, in my opinion, would not be the workflow, because you're defaulting these. What if your instance of setting these as default may change as you go along for the tool, because the cloud may be a different default to the next segment, right? What you should be doing is having a set custom tool set that reiterates those markups, right? Versus, because this cloud could have changed the next day to be green. Maybe the next day you wanted this to standardize as green versus this. Now, if you set that as default, you're always going to be clicking as default versus creating a custom tool set that's standardized for that day you're feeling like it's going to be the next color. Okay. But yes, the comment was standardized colorization for your markups and properties. So let's just go with properties of that aspect. Whenever you have a markup, you have the ability to go through and change specific properties. You have, depending on the type of markup, if it's a measurement or if it's a non-measurement markup, you have subject, and then you have label for measurements, but standardizing these with comments and information and saving them into your custom tool sets. So you can always save them by either dragging and dropping from recent tools. You can always right click on a markup, and then you can add it to a tool chest from here as well. So either of those work when you're trying to standardize and create a tool set that's set for them.
I just noticed that you had 2 landscaping tools, and it's spelled the same way. Surprised it didn't give you an error. Like this already exists. Interesting. Oh,
because
offline.
one's on my network. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's when we did the live one to see if we could connect with each other on here. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Custom stamp. So this one just says dynamic fields. It doesn't talk about JavaScript. So I did do a one-off non-recorded JavaScript customization for your stamps. We can maybe do that when Jason's gone again.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Well, I'm saying when you're gone. You're going to be gone next month.
We'll see about that.
Oh.
It's a long story.
Okay. So Jason may not be gone next month, so yippee. Well, no. I'm sorry, Jason, if you're not able to go.
You said what you said. That was a Freudian slip.
I take that. I realized after I said I was like, that was not my intent at all. I feel bad.
Wow. Okay.
But I'll be elated. And if you aren't, maybe we still do it. So then you can learn some JavaScript too. But anyways. Okay. So customizing your stamps, how much time we got? We got 15 minutes. We got enough time. So it wasn't the ability to customize it via JavaScript, right? Like these custom stamps that I have. It's to actually go through and just customize it from the dynamic inputs. So you can easily go through and do that. And I'll just create a new stamp just to show you all. You can type in whatever name you want it to be, MCR 2024, author, boom, 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 color, whatever. We'll just keep it this color. So you do have that ability to go through and customize these stamps with dynamic text input. And this is just out of the box. Like, takes nothing to go through and do this. So from here, you have user, file without extension, all of this customizable, not customizable, preset, dynamic input information. I was going to say dynamic fill, but basically when you place the stamp, it looks for this information and places it there. Okay, so this is all available now. The thing that's unavailable is the JavaScript window, and you do have to have the tier of complete to go through, and that's the ability to create custom JavaScripts for a JavaScript UI dropout. So basically, when you're going through and you're having your stamp, if you want to customize this, as you can see, I have done, you do have to have the JavaScript input for it. Okay, and maybe we'll all hope Jason can depart us for a month. And if he can, we'll do the custom JavaScript for everyone again, which is not recorded. It'll be on here. Maybe I'll record it and put it on the Get. I forget what the one is, that next tier. But yeah.
So we've been talking in the chat about some of the settings with stamps and signatures, and I just looked in. Next week we're talking about stamps and signatures on MCR, so we will play with some of those settings then.
Yeah, so let's talk about how awesome Mr. Jason Artley is and came up with our titles, I think, into 2025, right?
I don't know. Yeah, we got us through, and we're trying to figure out if we're going to do New Year's Eve and Christmas because holidays are coming up.
That's right. Because we'll still be in. I think I'll still be in the day after my birthday. Let me check. Yeah, I didn't take time off.
I won't be in the day after my birthday.
Ooh,
which is this Friday.
Yes, sir. I meant, yeah, but you'll be here next Tuesday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'll be here.
Yeah, because then we'll still be here on the 26th. And if anyone was wondering, my birthday's on the 25th, so.
And birthdays are a holiday here at ATG. So
Well, they're optional holidays.
yeah,
They're floating holidays, right? I guess you would
floating.
say.
Yeah,
Yeah, because you can use them whatever day.
that's why I'm
I,
taking mine later.
oh, I typically take mine because mine's always around Thanksgiving. Always. And everyone usually forgets to say happy birthday because they're out hanging out with family. I'm that one-off time of year. Okay. Anyways, getting back into it. So yes, customizing your stamps. So you have that ability to go through and customize those stamps. JavaScript will probably do another one-off one just to spice some things up if you guys want to go through and relearn that with me, live only. What's next? Create and share templates. So design standard templates for recurring document types, submittal reviews, RFI responses. So there's a couple of different ways. I've done some RFI verifications before. This was like right when I started here, I feel like. Michael's birthday, I feel like, yeah. It's literally how I walk around. But I've done it where I've done existing hyperlinks. So if that's something, right, standardization of your review process. I think standardization comes back to probably forms, especially for submittal forms versus handwritten data, because you can transmit that data out. We've talked about standardization for that back when we did forms and how you can export information out to Excel, which if you're not using Excel, definitely use that for a lot of your data information transmit. And as you can see before, Doug, I don't never forget data washing from using Power Query. No, I'm right. Power Query, right? Yes. Okay. If I'm wrong, Doug, you can put it in the chat. Data washing. Yeah, I was right. Cool. So being aware of that information so that you can itemize for all of that via export. The forms export, if you're ever looking for that, where was that again? Here it is. Under forms, export out your data. So there is that ability to export out. You can import. If you remember when we did this, there's specific fields that you can re-import back in that automatically populate data. So I think standardization for maybe submittals as forms information is a good idea. And hopefully in the future, they allow you to use forms in Bluebeam Cloud, because then that dashboard is coming back to the front line of being a viable solution in the cloud, right? Can I fill out forms via a PDF on my phone that then transmit back into here, which is almost the same thing as Go Canvas, right? Which is information that plugs into somewhere. So hopefully we'll see if there's anything that is integrated from Go Canvas into Bluebeam Cloud. We're still going to have Go Canvas on. Things are almost settled and worked out on our end. So once that does happen, we'll have them on as well. If you're all folks that go into the field or have people that go into the field. Okay. Next one. Automate processes with batch tools. So batch tools for batch markups. So you can do a batch markup, like you can place the exact same markup on every single page. That's always been possible. So you can right click and then you can just say apply to pages. That would be a batch. Would you consider? I would.
Yeah.
Next one is hyperlinking. So there's the ability to batch hyperlinks. So if you've never done this before, this typically happens when you export out as separate PDFs. So out of Revit natively, you can create hyperlinks if the PDFs were together. Yes, together. Not separate. Plotted as a single document.
There you go.
No, where else go? Like, anyways, okay. So from here, what you're able to do is you're able to, if they were printed out separate, that's what this was, or from AutoCAD. They don't have the dynamic linking, so you can create dynamic links, and you can even do this for a page index, by the way. You can even create bookmarks into a page index for a cover sheet, right? So there is that capability within Bluebeam Revu. You can just create your bookmarks and then go to and create a page index from there with hyperlinks. That works as well. So then people can have essentially the visibility of what your index looks like. But from here, what we're going to go through and do is going to go to document. And then from here, you can go to, batch is where I was going. Sorry, my bad. You can go to link. So from here, you do have the ability to go through and batch hyperlink. I'm going to add the open files. You do have to have complete for this. All the batch things are pretty much complete here. But what I'm able to go through and do from here is I can select, so the file name is this specific one, but I want to go through and I want to select a region of data. So all I have to do is, we all know title blocks are the same, but they may not be same by discipline, which you should typically follow the architectural title blocks, because we all remember, please send us a title block and then we can use the same one. But some people don't follow process, which comes back to data standardization. Please do, because then I can easily copy that. I can hit OK. And what I'm able to do is you can change your settings if you wanted to filter and sort, but I'm going to generate. So it found that same number on all of these sheets, and then it's going to search for this number everywhere that it's at to create hyperlinks. You can actually change your link options, which I typically do to show you all where those links are. Otherwise, it's just a index finger that kind of highlights over them and you're not really able to see it. So from here, I can hit run. 94 hyperlinks were created. So now you can see all of them. I guess I should have done a fill, but whatever. And this jumps you right to that sheet. Now you can create child views to create individual specific details if that's something you wanted to. That just takes a lot longer. Hopefully this is where AI really starts to take innovation kind of wings, I guess you would say, because that would be cool. Like, hey, look for these details in reference to, once it starts understanding our processes in the industry, hopefully that becomes more of an effective AI tool, right? That would be cool. I agree. Like, understand the correlation between this and this, how we understand the correlation. And then from there, create those hyperlink indexes for this next segment. That would be awesome, right? I can click this and it brings me right to there.
So you mentioned that you wished you would have taken that green box and make it shaded. Is there a way to go back and fix it, or do you have to recreate them?
Where's my links? I've never tried to go back through, so it's the little import. I don't know. So that's something I do not know. Open. Nope.
You can edit a hyperlink links in the properties panel, but there's no select similar type of thing.
Well, this is selecting all of them right now. Yeah, you can look at. So I just selected links. So let's go through and do fill. But is it just the one? I think it's just the one. Yeah.
Oh, you got to select all of them, is what Doug says.
But is there a quick select all? No. Don't tell me I have to do a shift.
Oh.
I guess you just have to do a shift.
There it is. Or Control A. There you go, Ed.
Oh, okay. All you hotkey users. Matt had did that to me the other day, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess Control A. Okay. Select all for those people. It's like the same thing where I was taught the Control Shift V, copy in the same place. Yep. Control A, select all. For those of you that didn't know, which I didn't know. So I'm used to the select, control, or the shift all. The shift down. You select the first one, control, and then shift from that next one. Okay.
I just noticed that my keyboard doesn't have a shift button. It's just an arrow.
You got a new keyboard?
Yeah. But it doesn't say shift anywhere. It just has an up arrow. And this is going to bug me because I never noticed this because I've had this thing for like 3 months now.
You can order a new one or a new. Yeah, I guess you get a new button.
I'm going to smash this thing now. It's just going to just annoy me. That's why it was cheap. No.
Yeah. I mean, I have these side buttons I don't even use. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, so that's batch process to maintain consistency. We still have a couple. Well, we have two more. Save and share. calibrated settings. So being able to, let me read what this says. Ensure the measurements are standardized by calibrating documents and sharing the calibration setting file with your team to prevent discrepancies. There's a calibration file? Calibration settings. Can you share calibration settings?
I don't think so. Like if you had like custom weird scales or something.
What's this? Huh. I'm using ChatGPT, if you're wondering. That's what I'm reading from. We started with AI, and we followed on that notion of being able to further expedite conversation. Well, processes, right? So yeah, I can't find an exportation of that. Does anyone know if you can export it? So this is, again, back to the whole notion of read but verify, or input but verify after. Where's my...
So Dan had the question, where are you reading this list from?
Yeah, I just said that.
The AI list?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if you can export out calibration, but I do know that it stays with the PDF. So once you've calibrated PDF and saved it, it's part of the metadata of the PDF itself. So you can calibrate. Bottom right is typically where I go to just because it's the quickest and easiest. You can do a preset one. Maybe it's these presets. No, I don't know. I'm not going to guess anymore. So let's go to custom. You can do a custom one if you wanted to calibrate, by a custom one, and then precision. I've never known it to be able to be exported. Okay. Last one, so we get everything within time because there was 8. Implement document management settings. So use Studio for collaborative work. Collaborative work. Calibrative, I was reading the same one from earlier. Collaborative work. So again, and it's funny, this is true. Ensuring everyone works with the latest document version. So you're marking up in a session the most updated PDF set. It's not meant for a document revision and slip sheet area. Remember, sessions is specifically meant for live collaboration on the current PDF set. Okay. It's buried in the C drive. Yes, Alex found it. Alex always coming to the rescue. Let's see. If you create a custom scale, it creates it. Oh, so if you were to create the custom
11/16 or some weird,
yeah,
1 = 25.
So buries it. For those of us that didn't know where that is, and probably going to watch it on the YouTube and you weren't part of this, which we'd love to have you live, but if you can't be live, this is where it is.
Look at that. User, app data, roaming, Bluebeam software, review 20. Interesting. And scale, custom presets.
Yep. Alrighty. With that, we made it to the time.
Yeah.
I'll let you close this out.
There was a question about making a sheet index from those links in the bookmarks. We'll cover that first thing next week. But also next week we're going to cover stamps and things like that. So we got a lot to play with.
Lots and lots. And if we forget next week, just remind us. So join us back.
Yeah, and I think my homework is to go back to Bluebeam Community and go back to Bluebeam Lab and go play with that at some point this week. Hope you all do too. Maybe I'll see you over on those forums. Otherwise, we will see you next Tuesday. Thanks all.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and check out some of the other content on our channel.